Join me for this fun Get Ready With Me featuring some exciting holiday products from e.l.f. and two of my favorite gals on YouTube. That's coming up next. Welcome back. I'm Kimberly. This is Pretty Over 50, where we talk everything makeup, skincare, and style for the over 50 woman. This is going to be such a fun Get Ready With Me. It's featuring a new fun product line from e.l.f. for the holidays and two of my favorite gals here on YouTube. This is a collab with two great gals, and you might know both of them. The first one is Queenie from Makeup Queenie, and she is one of my heroes here on YouTube. This woman has such a fun channel. If you're not familiar with her, you really want to go over there, check her out, subscribe to her channel, and watch her videos. She is actually my eyeshadow hero. This woman is so brilliant and so brave with her eyeshadow looks, and I'm always so fascinated watching her. It's such a treat. She has a sweet nature, a lovely personality, and just a real genuine heart. And her channel is so much fun to watch. It's truly one of my favorites. So go on over to Makeup Queenie and see what she has going on over there. It's always a lot of fun. And the second gal, of course, is my gal Jeannie over at Get This Glowing. She's my gal pal here in the makeup world, and I love her. She is the makeup maven. I have never met a woman who knows more about makeup, buys more makeup, enjoys more makeup. She is such a go-to resource for makeup for the mature woman. And if you haven't been to her channel, you want to go there. First of all, she's darling. Secondly, she's so fun and funny. And third, she knows so much about makeup. She's really a great resource for you. So go on over to Get This Glowing and check her out. This fun little collab that we're doing is so perfect because e.l.f. has come out with a collection of holiday products, and I'll put them up. It is the Haute Chocolate Eyeshadow Palette from e.l.f. And there's three in the collection. The first one is Sugar, which I'm doing today. The second one is Sweet, which Queenie is doing. And the third one is Spice, that Jeannie's doing. So you'll have a chance to see what the palettes look like, how they go on, and the looks that are created with each one of it. It's going to be such a fun journey. So once you're done watching what I put together with the Sugar palette, make sure you go on over to the other gals' channels and see what they do with the other two palettes. If you're looking for a holiday palette, take a look at these from e.l.f. They're a beautiful 15-pan palette. And here's the Sweet collection that I'll be working with today. You can see it's just a lovely colorway. The formulas are great, and you'll see it in the little video that's coming up next where I actually put on this makeup look. And it's just a fun, affordable holiday palette. This is only $10. But if you're interested in them, you might want to scamper on over there because I have a sense that this is just going to be a short, limited term edition that they're putting out for the holiday season. I'll be doing a full face Get Ready With Me style, talking a little bit about my life and a whole lot about makeup, so let's get into that now. I've prepped my face with my moisturizers and serums and sunscreen, and today for primer, I had a little sample of this Smashbox foundation primer, and when I put it on, it felt exactly like the e.l.f. mineral infused primer. It felt the same, it almost looks the same, it has a little bit of a blurring effect. The e.l.f. is exactly like what this feels like to me, and this is under $10. So if you're looking for a good primer that kind of has a silicone base that blurs, you might want to try this before you try this. I think this is a much higher price point. And for my lids, I used my Milani eyeshadow primer, which I use almost every day. I went ahead and did my eyebrows because no one wants to watch me do my eyebrows. And on my lips, I have on a little bit of the Wet n Wild Liquid Catsuit in the glossy formula. It's sort of a peach color. So the first thing that I want to do is jump into our pretty little palette today. I want to show you a little bit more about the colorway in this Sugar palette. Here it is. And you can see that there are some beautiful, neutrally warm tones with some pops of blue and green. I think this is such a pretty palette. I'm excited to jump into it. I think there's some beautiful looks that can be created for the holidays with this palette. I haven't used the formula. I haven't even swatched it yet, so this is new for me. One thing I want to point out about the palette that I just am noticing is that there's nothing on it. There's no labeling. The only thing it says is the e.l.f. right there. There's nothing on the back. There's no way for you to know that this is the sugar palette. So I'm not sure if this got rushed to market and they just didn't label it, or they're just jumping on the under-labeling bandwagon. So it's just a little bit different of a look for a palette than I'm used to. Generally, you at least have the name of the palette and some colors. On this, nothing. There's not even any indication of the colors inside the palette. This tells me that this might be a short release, just a holiday season release. So we'll see. Perhaps they'll repackage these same colors in different palettes later on in the 2020 season. I'm going to go ahead and swatch just a few of these colors so that you can see what they look like. I'm going to go in here and here, here and here. Oh wow. See? Just a real pretty color palette. And the formula looks like pretty pigmented and intense. We'll find out as I start moving into the eyeshadow look. I'm going to take my crease brush and just tap it into this little neutral camel color here and start working in the crease. And when I'm doing my eyeshadow, because I'm a little bit older woman, when I start in with my crease, I let my eyes just lay naturally. I don't lift up my eyebrows, because if I lift up my eyebrows and put color in the crease, when I relax my eyebrows, that color just disappears. So I go ahead and just start blending that crease color in exactly what on the skin that shows as my eyes are relaxed. And as it starts working in, then I can work it deeper into the crease, that little area that you can't see when my eyes are open. So what I'm noticing is that this color has a lot of pigment. I barely dipped into the formula and it's really laying down a nice crease color. Just going to go ahead and work that back and forth in that crease area, and then as it blends in, I'm going to lift my eyebrows and go a little bit deeper into the crease and lay that color down there. I'm going to start with some circular motions as I move in with the color, because the skin on my eyes is not as taut as it was in my 20s. Yeah, I found that it just works better to start slowly laying down that powder color and then working it in. And once that's kind of established a base, I can go back in with sort of a windshield wiper motion. Now that I have that crease color all worked in, I'm going to go in with a blending brush and really blend out the edges so it's really smooth. I like to think of a watercolor painting when I'm doing my eyeshadow, so I want the edges to be just smooth and that they just blend into each other. So I'll just work this back and forth until that color just really blends in with my skin. Now that that crease color is all blended in, I'm going to take a smaller brush and go into this deep, rich green. It's kind of it's a blue-green, kind of a teal. I think a dark teal. That's what it is right here. And just start working that in into the outside corner of the eye and a little bit into the V. So I'm just going to tap my brush in real lightly, tap off the excess, and then just start tapping that color onto my lid so that I can establish a base before I start blending it. This is a real dark pigmented color, so I don't want to do too much. I want to keep the eyeshadow look just a little bit subtle but with some color. I'm meeting my daughter for lunch today, and for those of you who are a little closer to my age, you might remember hearing about the restaurant that we're going to be going to. You know, I live right on the Northern California coast. I live right on the ocean. And the main little town closest to me, other than the one I live in, which is tiny, tiny, is a resort destination. And it has a restaurant called Cafe Beaujolais. And if you remember back in, I think it was in the 80s, Cafe Beaujolais, it's a French restaurant, had a best-selling New York Times cookbook. And Cafe Beaujolais is this tiny little French restaurant in this tiny little idyllic seaside village. It's just 5 minutes down the road from me. It's still there. It's still cooking up fabulous food. They've even opened up a sister restaurant that's an Italian restaurant. It's called Luna. And then behind them, they've opened up a brick-fired pizza place. So it's kind of turned into this little culinary, mecca right in the middle of this tiny little idyllic romantic seaside village. So we're going to go have lunch there today because a girlfriend of mine had lunch there and she said, they have an amazing macaroni and cheese dish that has hatch chilies on it, I think, or something, and 4 different kinds of cheeses. My daughter loves macaroni and cheese. So I tempted her there with that. And that's where we're going to go today. Now that I have that teal green worked into the outside corner, and I didn't put very much on, you can see, I'm going to go back in with a blending brush and really blend it out so it has a smooth transition and a little bit into the V as well, so that it really blends into the crease. Just taking circular motions, and I'm not moving that color much beyond where I laid it. I just wanted to have a much smoother transition into the crease color, and the edges just really softened out. Same thing on the other side. Now that I have that teal blue all blended in and really smooth edges, I'm going to take my finger into this little color right next to it. It's almost a deep seafoam green with a little bit of blue in it. It has a metallic shimmer in it. I want to add that to that outer area and just put a little bit of shimmer right next to that dark color in the outside of my crease. I'm just going to tap that on almost to the center point of my eye and out towards the outer edge. Boy, that's really, really pretty. Just as soon as I get this tapped on, I'll show you. Such a pretty, pretty color. Can you see that? Really nice. This palette's going to make so many wonderful holiday looks. Now I'm going to take a flat brush and I'm going to go into this champagne shimmer shade right here, and I'm going to lay that over the rest of the area on the lid and blend it really softly into that blue sparkle, the blue shimmer color. You can see, isn't that pretty? These shadows are very pigmented. I don't think I've gotten any fallout, and I'm liking that champagne color. There's not too many of these champagne colors that I'm really crazy about, but this one I'm kind of liking. I am seeing a lot of tiny, tiny glimmer flakes in it. I'm not sure that's my favorite component in a shimmer shade, but I do think it's very pretty. Now I'm going to go back in with a flat brush again, and I'm going to tap it into this creamy, kind of a very ivory color up here, just a little bit on my brush, and I'm going to sweep that under my brows just to kind of highlight and cut that brow area really cleanly. For complexion today, I'm going to go in with the CoverGirl and Olay Simply Ageless formula. And if you saw my friend box, Get Ready With Me, you'll know where this came from. This came from a huge box of makeup that my friend Jeannie sent over, and this was in it. I was so excited to receive this because this was also on my hot list. I was looking to pick this up in the next month, so it magically appeared in my friend box. That just happens to me so much. Comment below if that happens to you too. You'll just think about something and boom, the universe will whirl it right into your reality. So this, I used this one other time and it was almost flawless. It was so pretty, which is amazing because I have 62-year-old skin. So there's fine line and wrinkles and nooks and crannies and everything else, and this made my skin look amazing. The only thing I can say about this is it's a very matte finish. I might go and see if I can find this same formula in more of a dewy finish. I would just like to try it because I'm very, very curious. So so far am loving this foundation. Jeannie sent it over in Buff Beige, and it seems to work fine. At the same time, I had received my BoxyCharm, and in it came a nice little foundation brush, which I was wanting a new foundation brush too. So it just seems like whatever I think about these days just sort of whirls around in my experience. Just going to tap this right into the foundation and just start working that over my skin. I always like to start my foundation with a foundation brush, and once that brush has laid all the color in, I'll go back in with a blending sponge. What I noticed the first time I used this is once I put it on, I almost didn't need the blending sponge, but I did it anyway. I'm not sure why. But we'll see how it goes today. Just working that over my skin. It goes on very, very smoothly and has such a smoothing effect. Of course, also it has to do with the primer that I used, which is a kind of a pore reducing smoothing primer, smoothing and blurring primer. Now that I have that all worked into my skin, I'm going to go back in with a little blending sponge. I'm going to wet it just a little bit and just sort of tap that foundation out. Like I mentioned earlier, I don't even feel like I need to do it, but I do it by habit anyway, and I just kind of like the way it makes the foundation look so smooth. And I always try to really blend it into my little marionette lines here because my foundation will really collect there. So I try to not put foundation there, just pat in the foundation around it into that area so it's a really thin layer so less can collect there. For concealer, I'm going to go in with my CoverGirl True Blend. This is my favorite concealer right now. Drugstore pricing, a ton of shades. Even my local Rite Aid in my tiny, tiny little town probably has close to 20 shades of this. So this is a great under eye concealer. I find it works as well or better than any other concealer I've tried, which is why I keep using it every day. So I just tap on a little bit, just a tiny amount, you can see, not very much. It's that kind of fine line between enough to cover, but then not too much that it's going to get all creasy, which is a real issue for me. I have a lot of fine lines and wrinkles underneath my eyes, so it's easy for that concealer to really just travel around into my little nooks and crannies there. So once I put it on, I take this little brush and just smooth it in underneath, kind of like I'm just painting that underneath area. And then I'll go back in with my fingers and then with a blending sponge and really work that in before I set it with setting powder. See how smooth that concealer blends in? It really does a great job. The more I've used it, the more I just love it. So I'll go back in now with my e.l.f. HD powder and you're going to see how much I've loved this product. You're going to laugh. Look at this. I mean, I've not only hit pan, I've almost completely demolished this entire little compact. I love this for setting my under eyes. Even though it's not a loose powder, I find it works really well for me. So I just put on a little angle brush from e.l.f. and tap off the excess and then just go in and tap that in. And it seems to really hold my concealer a lot better than when I don't set it. For bronzer today, I'm going to be using a Tarte palette that I actually use a lot on the daily and I love it. It is the most beautiful neutral palette. There's eyeshadows and contours in this palette and they're absolutely glorious, and I've been using this one color right here to bronze with, and that's what I'm going to be using today. Just tap a little bit of my brush in there and get a little bit of product. And I always like to start at the top of my face or up in my hairline. It's just a habit. Plus, if I get too much on my brush, then I can kind of hide it in my hairline. So it gives me a good place to sort of start in bronzing my face. And I probably put on a little less bronzer in the winter season just because, you know, my skin just gets a lot lighter on its own. So I'm a little lighter with the bronzer and the blushes during the winter. And I always like to take it down underneath my chin where the skin is not quite as firm as it used to be, so this creates a nice little shadow, making it look like I have a little firmer chin line than maybe I really do in real life. A little bit on my nose, across my cheeks, just kind of warm things up. For blush today, I'm going to be using a new palette from ColourPop. I haven't used this before, and this is it says the color Blush, and I loved this color when I opened it up. It was so beautiful. Isn't that pretty? I think it's so perfect for the cooler months. So I'm going to take my blush brush and just tap a little bit of product on my brush. I don't know how intense this color is, so I want to start out slow and just start working that in sort of the upstairs area of my cheeks. I always start towards the outside and go up. I feel like it gives me just a little bit of a facelift for free. Other side. Oh, I just think that's just the prettiest color. Isn't that nice? Just a nice little blush on the cheeks. Now I always go back in with that same brush that I used for my bronzer and just really work that in so it's very, very smooth. For highlight today, I'm going to be using this new e.l.f. highlighter. I don't know what the color is. This is, again, minimal packaging. There's nothing on the back of this. Interesting. So we have this highlighter. It kind of has a gold shift to it, and I think you might be able to see it from space. So I think I better go pretty gentle on this highlighter. It's going to take a little rounded brush. This is the brush I always use for highlighter. Oh, you know what? I got a new brush in. Oh, I got one of these fan brushes. I'm going to try this today. So I'm just going to tap a little bit on my brush here and just work that in. Oh, you know, that blends in pretty good. It's not looking too over the top. You know, this is an interesting brush. I think I prefer my other e.l.f. brush for doing my highlight, but this is an interesting way to do it. You know, this is pretty. It's a lot subtler, but I think it's a pretty tone. I'm liking that gold. And then I always go back in again with my bronzer brush and just really shear that out so it blends in really seamlessly and smoothly. So that's pretty much it for the face. I think things are looking pretty good. I think that eye look is a really pretty sophisticated holiday look. I'm going to go ahead and pop off, and I'm going to put my mascara on, and then we'll finish up with a little setting spray and some lipstick. I've got my mascara on, and I went ahead and tight lined as well. I'm using the CoverGirl Exhibitionist mascara. I love this stuff. For setting powder today, I'm going to be using my favorite setting powder. It's Milani Prep Set and Glow. I love this stuff. I literally have used it every single day since I bought it. Just a nice little compact, under $10. I take that same large brush and just really work it over my entire face. It just gives such a nice finish, and it surprisingly, it doesn't really land in all my little nooks and crannies. I don't know how they do that, but they definitely do. So you can see just adds a nice little glow, which I think is so pretty. For lipstick today, I'm going to be using my current favorite lipstick. It's from Dose of Colors, and I think it's in the color Flirty. Yeah. It's so hard to read. That lettering is so tiny. I love this color. It's such a pretty neutral. I'll go ahead and show you how it looks. So I'll take this off. I'm going to line my lips with my tiny little NYX pencil in the color Natural. This is actually a liquid lipstick. I wore it last night. You guys are gonna laugh. I went to a barn dance last night. Yes, a barn dance. That's the kind of stuff we do around here. I wore it last night to the barn dance, and although it's a liquid lipstick, it does feel a little dry, but not super uncomfortable. I mean, you do have some, you know, give and take with a liquid lipstick because it stays on so long. There's gonna be a little bit of a drying impact, but it didn't feel uncomfortable. It actually felt nice. Isn't that just the prettiest color? I think that's such a perfect neutral for the winter season. Here we have the finished look. I'm really enjoying this eyeshadow palette from e.l.f. This new formula that they're using in this new palette configuration is really nice. Such a great price point. These are only $10. If you're looking for a fun holiday palette, I can really recommend this line of hot chocolate palettes from e.l.f. So I have the sugar palette, Jeannie has the spice palette, and Queenie has the sweet palette. I hope you found this fun and helpful. If you did, it would be great if you could give me a thumbs up. And if you're new here, welcome. I'm so glad that you've stopped by. Make sure you smash that subscribe button and hit that notification bell before you leave, and YouTube will give you a heads up when there's something new for you to watch. It just tickles me when you take a few minutes out of your day to spend it with me, so thank you so much for stopping by. Again, I'm Kimberly. This is Pretty Over 50, where we talk everything makeup, skincare, and style for the over 50 woman. Make it a great day, have a wonderful week, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye now.